Hi, everybody. My name is Nanika Edwards. I am a poet, author, artist, educator, and linguist from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. I speak several languages, and one of them is Mandarin Chinese. In this shortish or longish, depends on your perspective, series, I will be focusing on the connection between Chinese and the Bible. Most people don't know that there's a connection between Chinese and the Bible, but I personally believe that there is, and I don't think I'm the only one. There are a couple books on the topic, but I am going to be sharing some of the things that I have observed that are connected to this topic. What better topic to kick things off with than God? Here you can see the Chinese word for God, as in capital G God, as opposed to common G God. Let's see what it means or what it represents. It is composed of two Chinese characters. On the left, you have above, and on the right, you have emperor. So let me explain what you're looking at. On the left, you have a character that represents a concept. You can see that the longest horizontal line is on the bottommost part of that word, and that above that there's a protrusion that represents a concept of above, like that protrusion is above. That protrusion is above the longer horizontal line. So it represents a concept of something being above or on, in this case, above. On the right hand side, you have a word that represents emperor, and you're going to have to use your imagination for this. And if your imagination maybe doesn't help you out too much, I hope that you can take this by faith, that this represents an emperor with all of his splendid royal robes just flowing all around him. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the tippy top of that character would probably be his head, and then the rest of it would be, his the rest of his body covered with these robes. I'm assuming that that's what it is. I will admit I didn't check the character specifically before doing this video, but I do know that it does represent the emperor in all of his splendid, glorious clothing, his royal garments. Now, what connection does this have to the Bible? By the way, can you see that? Do you think you can see that? Take a good look at that character or that word. Anyway, above emperor represents emperor on high, which I think is a lovely way to think of God. It's a very culturally specific way of defining God. Instead of just as king, you've got emperor, and emperor on high. What a beautiful description of God's royalty. So, what does this have to do with the Bible? I'll tell you, this particular script reminds me of something that was said in the book of Isaiah, something that Isaiah the prophet himself saw in a vision. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Isaiah chapter 6, verse 1, NKJV, New King James Version. Can you see the connection between the character and this particular portion of scripture? Bear in mind that this word D, I would like to believe, would have been designed, if we want to put it like that, would have been invented or designed. Somebody would have come up with it probably long before Isaiah had this vision of the Lord. I don't believe that there's any direct connection between Isaiah and the Chinese person who came up with this character, with this Chinese word. So this is absolutely phenomenal. This is a very interesting dovetailing of the Bible and Chinese. And somebody may say, but that's probably just coincidental. I don't think so. And I'll tell you this. When you start, if there's just a one-off kind of wow moment where these words are concerned, okay, you could say, yeah, it's probably just coincidence. But where you see a pattern developing, like a consistent echoing, a consistent mirroring of what's depicted within a Chinese word, the meaning encoded within a Chinese word, or the picture that a Chinese word paints, and you place that next to something similar or the same thing in the Bible, and you see that there's a perfect mirroring of concepts, ideas, principles, images, imagery, that we would really have to pause and consider the possibility that God, in his all-knowing wisdom, that God, in his faithfulness and to his word and to his promises, one of which is, or one being, that he would not leave us without evidence that he is real and that he is God. I think that's somewhere in the book of Romans or Acts or something like that. I mean, surely this is not just coincidence. Anyway, this is the first word in the series. I hope that you found it interesting. Chinese and the Bible, God.